Good afternoon. It's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the afternoon weather and news update. We do this every day here at 2:30. We'll go over a look at the forecast and transition over to a look at your news headlines for the second half of this stream. So you definitely want to stay through the whole thing and get your fill of news and weather here. But let's get started. What are we looking at in terms of weather headlines? Well, we are still on alert for that heat for one more day. For the rest of this afternoon, it's still going to be very hot out there. Triple-digit heat index values are expected. However, we will start to see relief as we get into tomorrow. We'll have a cold front begin to work its way in from the north. That will bring us some chances for some scattered showers and thunderstorms, but more importantly is it's going to usher in a much more refreshing air mass for the end of the work week. So while we might not get that nice huge break in the humidity for Thursday, it will arrive by the time we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It just takes a little bit longer behind the front for that good refreshing air to finally settle in. And then looking ahead, looks like we've got a dry weekend ahead of us. Not only is it going to be dry, it's going to be sunny, it's going to be refreshing. We've got really, really great weather on the way for Saturday and Sunday. So if you don't have any outdoor plans, definitely think about what you're going to be doing for this weekend. But until then, we are still on alert. Again, for the rest of this afternoon, 8 p.m. is when that extreme heat warning is going to expire. Heat index values as high as 111, 112 are possible as we go through this afternoon. Right now, we've warmed up for our actual air temperatures into the low to mid 90s, 93 for Evansville and Newburgh, 95 there in Grayville, same as Oakland City as well. So most of us already pretty steamy and hot. Our dew points are well into the 70s, most of us in the mid 70s, 75 in Newburgh and Lewisport, 77 up towards Oakland City, and around 76 up towards Mount Carmel. Now factoring in the heat and humidity, it does feel a lot hotter out there. It feels like 105 in Newburgh right now, feels like 101 in Evansville. So it will get a little bit hotter here for the next few hours, and then things will start to relax a little bit. But here's a look at the current heat warning that we have. It encompasses the majority of the tri-state for all those counties that are highlighted there in that purple color. Again, this goes until 8 p.m. tonight for those very, very high heat index values. Now, oddly enough, looking back at a little weather history, back in 1999, we were also dealing with a prolonged heat wave, and it set in around the middle of the month and continued through the end of July, so similar to how this one's kind of set up for us. High temperatures were in the 90s for the last 2 weeks of the month, and July 30th was the hottest day of the year with a high of around 98 degrees, and unfortunately, 3 people in southeastern Illinois died due to that extreme heat, and they were just doing normal activities that we do every single day. For instance, one man, he was found dead in his home and the windows were closed and there was no air conditioning. So that's why we always tell you guys to check in on your neighbors, especially elders and really, really young children, making sure that their homes are in working condition, their air conditioner is on. Another man died gathering landscaping rocks in 95-degree heat. So something a lot of us do, just general yard work, and the heat makes it that much more difficult and dangerous. And 53-year-old farmer died while working out in a field as well. So this is why we tell you guys just to be cautious and take it seriously. We know it's not like a tornado is headed our way, but the heat does accumulate that impact on the body. So why we wanted you to be drinking plenty of water through this whole duration. That's why we've been on alert for the last week and a half to kind of bring that a little bit more into light and making sure you guys are aware of that possibility. But outside of the heat, it's pretty nice outside. We've got plenty of sunshine. We're not really tracking out any rain here this afternoon. We may see a spotty shower pop in overnight tonight with a weakening batch of storms moving in from the northwest, but most of us will stay dry with mostly clear skies. Temperatures will drop down into the low to mid 70s. And then as we get into tomorrow, we'll warm all the way back up into the upper 80s. So already not expected to crack 90 degrees, and that already is going to feel a lot better. But with that cold front sliding in, that will increase our chances for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. But here's a look at our future radar for the rest of the day today. We'll stay quiet during the afternoon. There's that slight chance for maybe a sprinkle primarily over southern Illinois overnight tonight as a weakening batch of storms moves in from the northwest, and then that'll kind of die off through the overnight hours. we may see a few spot showers, maybe a thunderstorm through Thursday morning, but better chances of showers and storms arrive during the afternoon and evening hours. This model doesn't really pick up on it too well, but the other models do show that chance for scattered showers and storms. Nothing major moving through, but again, more of the hit or miss stuff. But once that front moves in, again, we will dry out nicely through the weekend, so we should stay dry Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then once humidity starts to pick back up for the beginning of next week, that's when we'll see shower chances kind of return a little bit once again. So here's what that looks like on our longer range European model. We'll have a low pressure system slide in from the west. That's going to send in a warm front out to our northeast, but this cold front moving in from the northwest is what's going to bring us that relief. And then once that front clears, we'll have high pressure build in from the north. That's going to act as kind of like a shield for any inclement weather that would be moving through during the weekend, so that'll keep us nice and dry. And then there's again maybe a spot chance for a shower by the time we get into Monday as that high pressure system pushes off to the northeast. Well, looking at our temperature trend for the next 7 days, we'll hang out again in the upper 80s for tomorrow, but then down into the low to mid 80s through the weekend and through much of next week. So it is going to stay feeling better for quite some time. It's not going to bounce right back into a heat wave, which is what we've kind of been doing on and off through the last month and a half. So we'll actually get a good, decent break with nice relief on the way. So in addition to those temperatures being down into the 80s, our dew points well down into the 50s even possibly. I mean, that is really, really, really hard to do this time of year. When dew points are down in that dry category, that's very typical of a more fall, winter air mass, not really a summer air mass. So this is just going to feel wonderful. You may actually be able to leave your windows open Friday night, Saturday night, maybe even a little bit into Sunday night, because the temperatures are going to be down into the 60s. Dew points are pretty much a non-issue at this point, so I would take advantage of that if you can. And another thing that we had happen along the west coast of the United States today, or at least last night, is they had an earthquake over off the coast of Russia that actually prompted some tsunami warnings along the west coast, all up and down the west coast. California, Oregon, Washington were all under some sort of tsunami warning. So I wanted to take the time to explain what causes tsunamis. Well, there are several ways, but at least what had happened yesterday to prompt those warnings was an underground earthquake, or underwater earthquake, excuse me. And when that happens, you actually push the water upwards with a lot of force, and that displacement of water causes a rippling effect. So low and fast waves are generated in all directions across the ocean, very much like when you drop a pebble in a pond and you can see the water just kind of bouncing outward from where that pebble hit. Tsunamis look very similar in the middle of the ocean, and as those waves enter shallower water, they become more compressed, and the speed at the bottom of the wave actually slows down while the top of the wave speeds up. So that's how they kind of build in height and speed as they race towards the coastline. And when they strike land, most tsunamis are less than 10 feet high, but in extreme cases, they can exceed 100 feet. And rushing water from the waves, floods, and rivers is incredibly powerful. Just 6 inches, as we know, of fast-moving water can knock down adults off their feet, and 12 inches can carry away most vehicles. And tsunamis are also dangerous as they return to the sea because they're carrying debris and people with them. Now, the first wave in a tsunami may not be the last wave. Oftentimes, they're in sets of 3s, and it might not even be the largest or the most damaging. The danger of tsunamis may last for hours or even days. So there are still a few lingering warnings along the west coast, but most of what had happened yesterday has already happened, and they're not really expecting anything to get really worse there. So that's good news, but just wanted to touch on that. That was some interesting weather and environmental news just to kind of throw in there. But let me go ahead, check out the comments real quick, and we'll go over the forecast one more time, and we'll send things over to Jamie for a look at the news headlines. But Jeanette, she says, good afternoon to you. Mary Beth says, cooler weather, question mark? Yes, on the way, starting tomorrow. Denise says, good afternoon. Robert said, let it snow a whole lot. You know, I can't say that I am agreeing with you, Robert, but I understand where you're coming from. And Jeanette said yard work and cleaning the car. So I'm assuming that's what she's going to get done this weekend while the weather is a lot nicer and tolerable out there. But again, wrapping this all up in a little bit of a bow for you. Hot again for this afternoon. We remain on alert. Tomorrow, that cold front moves through with some scattered showers and storms. That'll take our temperatures way down into the low to mid 80s for the end of the work week and into the weekend. And a beautiful stretch of weather Saturday and Sunday, mostly sunny. Low humidity, low temperatures. I mean, it is just going to be perfect for anything you can imagine. Swimming, hiking, camping, picnic, whatever. Dinner outside, definitely take advantage of it. And then some more showers return for the beginning of the work week as our humidity increases once again. So that is all I've got here for the forecast. I'm going to hop off the live stream, but don't go anywhere. Right after this break, Jamie will be back with a look at your news headlines.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our 2:30 streaming show. I'm Jamie French. I'm going to give you a look at some of our headlines for today. We do have a lot going on, so I'll just walk you through two of our top stories for this afternoon. Right now, this one is sort of an update out of Muhlenberg County. Family members of the Muhlenberg County airman who died recently is urging the discontinuation of the P320 gun that caused his death. If you remember, 21-year-old Braden Lovin of Greenville died after an unattended gun went off. Now, Lovin was a member of the 90th Security Forces Squadron in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He was at an Air Force base there in Wyoming when that gun incident happened. Today, we talked with the attorney that's representing his family. That attorney tells us there has been hundreds of incidents where the gun at this Air Force base, the P320 gun, misfires. That's happened before. This attorney says that he's represented nearly 200 family members of people who have died from this gun misfiring before. Now he is representing the case of Braden Lovin there in Muhlenberg County. So we talked with that attorney. Like I said, our Emma Beck will be doing that tonight. She's going to have more details of everything you can expect to come out of that case tonight on 14 News at 6, and then her full story later at 10 tonight. This other story here, switching gears here, is quite lucky, if I can say. I mean, I know this guy personally. He is now $50,000 richer. Take a look. This is Cameron Greenwell of Waverly there in Union County. He went out on his lunch break. He's a farmer, so he stopped at a local gas station and he bought a scratch-off ticket. And as he was sitting in his car, he started scratching off that ticket, and he first thought that he won $10,000. But then he got home, he scratched off the rest of the ticket, and he found out that he won a $50,000 prize off of a scratch-off. Now, like I said, Greenwell is a farmer there in Union County. He works alongside his dad, spraying crops. He says this was the only a second time that is playing a game from the Kentucky Lottery. So he plans to put some of the winnings, it's $36,000 after taxes. He plans to put some of that into savings. He wants to use the rest of it to pay some things off on the farm. Of course, farming is very expensive, so a lot of equipment involved there, so he'll use it for that. Now, it was sold at Gateway One Stop in Sturgis, the gas station there. They actually get $500 for just selling him that ticket. So an average lunch break from work, stopping by the gas station and just thought, hey, I'll get a scratch-off ticket, and Wow, $50,000 richer. So his lucky day there, Cameron Greenwell of Waverly. We're going to have more about that later tonight on 14 News. We also have plenty of top stories to get to you today as well. So, of course, we're going to have more weather as we approach that cool off that Michael was telling us about. All of that ahead on 14 News at 4, 5, 6, and later tonight at 10. You will see me again solo as Rob is on vacation, but I promise we'll make it a good time. All right, thanks for watching us this afternoon. Have a great day.